Very warm welcome to the topic Production Space. Studying space has always been the most exciting field humans have usually found themselves indulged in. So, how did we come to exist? How the universe began? And when did it all start? Let us find out. We hear and read a lot about space as just a very commonly used word. But what exactly is space in the real context? What does it comprise of? The most simple and direct answer to what is space is simply looking up at the sky and saying that everything we see above Earth's atmosphere is what space is. And all we see up there are the sun, the moon, the other planets, asteroids, comets, several celestial bodies. However, is that it? Are these objects the only things that are there in space? Just like the asteroids and comets, there are a lot of tiny dust particles that are so small that we can barely see them even from a basic distance, making them invisible to us. But apart from those and the gases that are visible but difficult to see, there are things that are actually invisible to us, like a wide range of radiations: X rays, UV rays, radio waves, IR rays from various stars, neutron stars, black holes, etc. Even the cosmic rays, which have been traveling from the distance as long as the universe came into existence. We all know that space lies above the sky, but we also know that there is air in the sky but not in space. So, this means that space starts from a certain height where there is no air. So, what is that height? What is below that height? And where exactly does space start? Let it start wherever, but where does it end after that? And hence, how big is space? Let us know more about the atmosphere. The atmosphere is the blanket of air that the earth is surrounded by. This is what separates the conditions we live in and the conditions found in space. And thus, this is what protects us from the harmful conditions and radiations in space and comprises the oxygen we need to live. It consists of five layers of different types of temperatures, pressures, and air densities. Earth's atmosphere can be divided into five layers, namely the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and exosphere. These layers are divided based on the change in temperature and pressure observed starting from the surface of the Earth. It is above the topmost layer of the atmosphere where space officially begins. So, the beginning of space is the boundary line between the Earth's atmosphere and outer space. It is approximately 100 kilometers from the surface of the Earth. The imaginary boundary line is called the Kármán line. Kármán line is described by Fédération Astronautique Internationale (FAI), which is a world air sports federation. Everything below the Kármán line is called airspace, where all the aeroplanes go over, and everything above this is called outer space. Everything that lies above the Kármán's line is space, and all the objects are said to be in space. So, as space is a word used to describe the open vacuum in the empty vastness, there is no official end of space known to mankind yet. To answer the question of how old this universe is, can anyone tell what could be the oldest object we can find on Earth? It could be some rocks and minerals. as they would be formed during the formation of our Earth, and hence we can roughly estimate the age of the Earth, which will be the lowest age of the universe. In the early 20th century, radiometric age dating technology was highly in use to determine the age of any object. For example, to find the age of a tree, age of some old metal, etc. The same process done on some of the oldest rocks and minerals, and it was found to be approximately 4.5 billion years old. And that is the reason why we say that Earth was found that billion years ago. After the Earth, we looked at the stars and galaxies to find their age. Scientists have found few stars and globular clusters in the Milky Way galaxy that are 11 to 14 billion years old. So we found the new lower limit of the universe age. Finally, in 2012, the astronomers used a more reliable method to find a better estimate of the age of the universe, approximately 13.8 billion years. So, we all have heard that space is a vacuum. Does that mean space is empty? Along with the emptiness of the space, there are electromagnetic radiations, magnetic fields, low density and tiny dust particles, gases, plasma, cosmic rays, dark matter, and dark energy. So, what is this dark matter? Whether dark energy is a theoretical form of energy, what is it? Astrophysicists are working to know more about the dark matter and dark energy, which makes up most part of the universe. Before we start learning more facts and informations that we have discovered and find out, let us first learn how exactly do we get this information from. Human beings are one of the most precious life forms on this earth. The capability to observe, think, question has been one of the most vital tools that helped transform the whole of mankind. Most of the important questions regarding humankind and the universe are based on the findings of the formation of the universe. So let us go back in time. The easiest way to look back into time is to simply observe the night sky. As the stars we see at night are several light years away, the light we see from them has traveled for a few years to reach our eyes. When we look at them, we are seeing how they looked in the past. Ancient Greeks are credited for outstanding astronomical knowledge, but recently archaeologists discovered a cave painting in Europe estimated to be 12,000 to 40,000 years old that has outmarked Greeks. It is believed that the Ice Age civilization was also observing the stars in the sky, the star pattern, and another proof observing the comets is shown here. The event of comet appearing is made as an art and recorded. You can see comet Halley 1066 PC. Students, you can look at this picture of rock carving found in Burzama region in Kashmir and tell what you can observe. Something bright like a sun. But we don't have two suns. So, what are we seeing after all? A group of scientists from Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in India found that it could be a supernova. They did carbon dating on the inscription, which gave an idea of when did people carve the stone and tried to compare it with the calendar of that era. It was found that there was a supernova explosion that occurred and was visible to people on Earth, which they felt some special event and engraved on the rock. Most of the recorded scientific advancements took place much more recently than all these above mentioned periods. We are aware that our ancestors have been looking into the dark sky and have observed many stars. They grouped a few stars that appeared periodically and gave them names. Based on their position and shape, they also created mythological stories. They didn't just look at the stars, they observed various celestial events like solar and lunar eclipses, comets passing by, phases of the moon, etc., and calculated it will repeat again. They were also excellent at measuring time with the help of sun and sun's shadow, seasons, simultaneously. They used to take pole stars instead of constellation as navigational tools for overnight traveling. So let us know more where and why these few bright minds behind theories that we are aware of today came from. Most early astronomers are very talented and skillful. They were very knowledgeable in astronomy, mathematics, and geology. In a world full of people believing that the earth was flat, Eratosthenes, a notable Greek astronomer mathematician, measured the side of the round earth using the sun in 276 195 BC around. His measurement was 39,690 kilometers, which is only 340 kilometers off the actual measurement. Another renowned Greek astronomer, Claudius Ptolemy, came up with a geocentric model of the universe from 85 to 168 AD. The two notable models of the universe, the geocentric and the heliocentric. The heliocentric, so sorry, I think you'll have to cut here. Again, I will repeat. There are the two notable models of our universe, geocentric. Earth is in the center of the universe, where all the planets, stars, moon, including the sun, were considered to be revolving around the Earth. Whereas the heliocentric model means the sun is at the center of the universe, where the planets, stars, moon were considered to revolve around the sun. Today, the heliocentric model is followed widely by many with proof provided by great astronomers. Aryabhatta, with mathematical astronomy, mentioned that the last two planets, Rahu and Ketu, were nothing but ascending and descending nodes of the meeting point of Sun and Moon. Bhaskara, too, explained the time that is required for the Earth to orbit the Sun, the sidereal error. Brahmagupta, renowned for the invention of zero and exceptional mathematical knowledge, he has done major research on the moon and provided lots of data to the whole world. Varahamiraha summarizes that Romaka Siddhanta explaining the epicyclic theory of the motions of the sun and the moon provided by the Greeks in the 1st century AD. As discussed earlier, many civilizations have been observing the sky and objects in the sky. To make accurate observations and calculations, few ancient astronomical observatories were built around the world to study the celestial bodies, measure the time using the sun, locate the stars and constellations, track weather changes, new seasons, and much more. Some of the examples are in front of you here. Stonehenge in the UK, a stone monument built around 3100 BC, lets the sunrise fall over the heel stone and was used to observe the solstice at dawn. The Castello in Mexico, built around the 7th century in Mayan city, giving its civilization an observatory to observe the solstices and equinoxes. One important monument in South Korea, a 9.4-meter tall stargazing tower built around the 7th century, is known to be the oldest existing observatory in Asia. And Gaocheng in China is the oldest surviving observatory built in 12th century for timekeeping and mapping of the stars. So, do we have any such observatory in India? Raja Jai Singh II of Jaipur, India, in the 17th century had a keen interest in mathematics, architecture, and astronomy. It is believed that he had elements of geometry by Euclid translated into Sanskrit. Raja Jai Singh II, during his time, commissioned the Jantar Mantar observatories at 5 places across India, like Jaipur, Delhi, Varanasi, Ujjain, and Mathura. Jantar Mantar was an assembly of astronomical instruments built by stone, designed with the naked eye to be used. It consists of many yantras which can be used for observation. Jantar Mantar in Jaipur is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site as well. 15th century was an important period in the context of advancement of astronomy and space science. So can anyone identify this object? So yes, this is a telescope. And who invented it? It is not Galileo. So who was it? Hans Lippershey used to be an optician in the Netherlands. He accidentally found the magnified image when two different lenses were held at a certain distance. He invented the first ever instrument that could be used to see distant objects closer and clearer in the year 1608. He called it telescope. Within a year, Galileo got to know about its invention and he started building his model by the trial and error method. Hence, Galileo, being an astronomer, became the first and important famous person for the discovery of telescope and using it for understanding the sky dynamics. Later in the 15th century, Galileo Galilei used the telescope to look up into the sky. Through the telescope, one can look into deep into those dots in the sky and differentiate the planets from stars. Galileo could see Moon, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, moons of Jupiter, and Saturn with its rings. That could have been one of the most beautiful sights he would have seen. So, coming to some basic GK, from astronomy to astrophysics, can we identify these researchers of time? While Galileo used a telescope to see the sky, Isaac Newton's discovery of gravity helped us understand how planets revolve, orbital time, forces, what are stars and planets made up of, what else is in space, how far are they. There are many things that have helped us to reach this stage of knowledge about the universe. But even now, most of the important big questions are still completely unanswered. Sir Isaac Newton, Johannes Kepler, Professor Albert Einstein, Dr. Carl Sagan, Professor Stephen Hawking, Professor Neil deGrasse Tyson. Kepler helped formulate the laws of planetary motion. Einstein theorized relativity and formulated the most popular equation in science, E is equals to mc square. Carl Sagan spent his life contributing a large amount of research in the field of extraterrestrial intelligent life, which he was a great scientific educator and hosted the show as Cosmos. Stephen Hawking theorized the exploding black holes and Hawking radiation. Scientific advancement was at the peak in the 20th century. A few of the scientists we just learned about were also active in the 20th century. Later in the century, world wars were happening. Most powerful nations went on another type of war called the Core War, which was to prove who is best in technological advancement instead of proving who is good with weapons or better with weapons. The race was between Russia and America. The Soviet Union launched the first satellite Sputnik 1 in 1957, which led to something called the space race. The United States of America was working on its first satellite, Explorer 1, which was launched in space in 1958. Later, the USSR sent the first animal to space, followed by the USA. After that, both started working on the human flight program, where USSR sent its first man to space, Yuri Gagarin, on April 12, 1961, and USA sent Alan Shepard on May 5 in the same year. The USA was determined to win the space race and announced that they would send astronauts to land on the moon within a decade, and they achieved it by sending Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins to the moon through the Apollo 11 mission. And hence, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon on July 20th, 1969, while Michael Collins orbited the moon in their station. Space technology is something that we use for exploration both on Earth and beyond the atmosphere. Once used in war, rockets turned to be vehicles used to launch satellites and humans to space. We are always asking this question: why do we spend all this energy, money, infrastructure, and effort in making these satellites and sending them into space? How do they repay us? What is it all for? How do the satellites help us? Sputnik was an experimental satellite. Following Sputnik, the usefulness of satellites and space technology made significant contributions to the world's social and economic development in the domains aviation, maritime, land transportation, urbanization, mapping, surveying, and communication, to name a few. Some of the others: sustainable agriculture, environment monitoring, natural resource management, human health, and food security. Satellite helps communicate with people across the globe, find the route to a particular destination, predict the weather, guide farmers, and has enabled 5G technology, e banking, telemedication, robotics, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things, much more. Satellites are not just used to look at Earth, but also to explore outer space. Many spacecrafts were sent to the Moon and neighboring planets, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and Jupiter's moons, to collect more information. It is intriguing to understand how the idea of a telescope that is normally used on Earth can also be sent to space came into the picture. Hubble Space Telescope is a giant space telescope sent to gather more information about our universe in Earth's orbit. Today, we understand that Earth is not the only planet in the universe. We have many Earth like planets far away in the galaxy called exoplanets, which can potentially possess life. After the World Wars, a space program, Indian National Committee for Space Research in Korspar, was initiated in India by Dr. Vikram Sarabhai with the support of Dr. Homi Bhabha in 1962. First sounding rocket was launched from Tumba. Starting from sounding rockets today, ISRO has one of the most powerful rockets in the world. ISRO has sent the first Indian cosmonaut, Colonel Rakesh Sharma, to space in 1984 on a Soviet Union launch vehicle. ISRO has made its name worldwide through few programs like Chandrayaan, Mangalyaan, and broke the record by launching 104 satellites on a single rocket. Currently, ISRO is working on Gaganyaan Chandrayaan 3, NISAR, and Aditya L1 missions. We learned about some great scientists from all over the world who changed the way we look at the universe and contributed to what we know about it. Let's now look at some great Indian scientists who changed the world. All of these scientists contributed several discoveries and inventions. For instance, Jagdish Chandra Bose, along with Einstein, discovered a new form of matter called the Bose Einstein condensate. C.V. Raman discovered the scattering of light, leading to answering the question of why the sky looks blue. Subramaniam Chandrasekhar discovered the minimum required mass of a star. Ramanujan, one of the best mathematicians the world has ever encountered, invented trigonometry and has helped develop several theorems. All we know, and only a missile man of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. The Gaganyaan mission. The objective of the Gaganyaan program is to demonstrate an indigenous capability to undertake a human space flight mission to low Earth object. In a simple way, take an Indian astronaut to space. I'm repeating this, it's low Earth orbit actually. The objective of the Gaganyaan program is to demonstrate an indigenous capability to undertake a human space flight mission to low Earth orbit. In a simple way, take an Indian astronaut to space in an Indian rocket from Indian soil. Wait, what? A Vyomanaut? Just like Americans call the people who go to space as astronauts, Russian call cosmonaut, Chinese call taikonauts, we Indians call them Vyomanaut, derived from Sanskrit word Vyoma, meaning space. So, who wishes to go to space? Who wants to become a future Vyomanaut? Sending humans to space started with the two countries competing to be first, all doing things such as sending two people into space simultaneously, sending three people into space simultaneously, performing a spacewalk, docking two spacecrafts in space, and so on. Later, the interest was on moon. America was successful with the Apollo mission in 1969, whereas the Soviet Union successfully launched the space station Salyut in 1971. Later, both the entities worked together to build the International Space Station program with an objective to study microgravity, conduct various experiments in microgravity conditions, study its effects on the human body, prepare humankind for a long trip to Mars, etc. The purpose of building the ISS was to have a station in space that could be an observatory. The ISS is used for scientific research experiments in a range of fields like astrobiology, material science, physical sciences, astronomy, space weather, meteorology, and even research directly beneficial for human biologies like space medicine and life sciences. So is what we have done so far and found out so far about the universe enough? Are all the big questions answered? Is this the future or is there something else coming out? Many astrophysicists and astronomers say that we have only discovered 4% of this universe. The rest 96% is unexplored. We have much more answers to find. A lot of work must be done to reach those distant planets within a shorter duration, and various technologies to be invented to live on those same planets. Finally, finding ways to solve the problems here on Earth and provide space solutions. So, thank you for learning on Introduction to Space.